Hello everyone, welcome back to the Just Ask Alumni podcast. Today I have Frank here with me. Kif Frank?
All right.
All good?
All good.
Would you like to introduce yourself to everyone watching?
Okay, so my name is Frank. I'm 42 years old. I've been involved in the media industry since I was 16. So that's way too long. Right now, my job is that of a line producer with a production and visual effects company. So what a line producer does essentially is manage a project from beginning to end. The company I work for, which is called Stargate Studios Malta, to date we've been servicing networks and streaming platforms like Netflix, like Mediaset, like The Rise. And the idea with me being on board as a line producer is to focus on original content. Okay. So essentially my job is to figure out how we can use the skills that we typically use to service clients to create and generate our own IP.
And I know, I've been following you for a very long time, so I know that you're also very, obviously, marketing oriented.
Yes, so my qualifications actually are in marketing and graphic design. I don't have a degree.
I was going to ask, did you study
but my qualifications are actually, my academic qualifications are in marketing and graphic design, which is why I try to bring a lot of a visual element into a lot of the things that I'm involved in. Mm-hmm. So even when I was involved in radio, which is very non-visual, I was still very focused on the visual side of things in the radio world.
And you also know how to connect to people very well. I know that you'd rather connect someone on a personal basis rather than focus on things like tools and these kinds of things.
Yes,
well,
I think relationships, whether we're talking about business, whether we're talking about life and everything, relationships are everything. Mm-hmm. Even in business, at the end of the day, if you're dealing with clients, that's a relationship. If you're dealing with a potential partner in business and whatnot, it's still a relationship. So I love connecting on a personal level to people, because you never know how that person that you're talking to today might come in handy or useful or helpful in the future. Not that I try to use people, but it's very funny how you can be talking to one person today and next week you'll be back against the wall needing some help from someone, and suddenly you're like, actually, you know what, I was talking to someone last week who can maybe point me in the right direction. So
seeing that Malta is so small and everyone knows everyone, use it to your advantage.
But I think but what's crazy is, even if you're doing business with someone like in the United States, mm-hmm. the market, everyone knows everyone. So right now I'm working on a project where we're pitching to potential people in the US. Mm-hmm. They know each other. So the second you pitch to one person, you tell them I've been already in touch with that person. They know each other, they know who they are, the network is there. It's a question of figuring out a way of getting into that network of people and making sure that every step of the way you're leaving a good impression.
And you said that you've been at this for a very long time, since you were 16,
yes.
Correct? Let's imagine that you're back to being 16. I don't know what year that would have been. I'm not very good at maths.
1999.
Let's imagine we're back in 1999. If you had to...
Y2K.
It's in fashion right now.
Yes,
so you go to the point and everything is
everyone
Y2K.
was worried that their computers were going to blow up.
And now everything is back inside from there. If you had to go back to the way that you used to think when you were 16, what did your thoughts, how did you think back then that you can compare to today?
I was very driven. Since the very, very beginning of my career, I was very driven, and I was trying to think about why I was so driven. And I think it's down to two things. First of all, I'm a twin.
Okay.
So I was born always with the mentality that you need to stand out, because mm-hmm. otherwise if you don't stand out, you're one of the twins, you're one of two people. So immediately everything I do, whether it was, I don't know, saying something on stage, wearing something, dress code, anything, I always wanted to stop being one of the twins and being Frank. And being identified as Frank. So that always helped me with that always drove me to try and really interpret things differently, take different things from a different angle. Another thing, and that sounds a bit macabre, is when I was younger, I never could imagine myself at 30 years old, at 40 years old. So I always had this impression that I was going to die very young. And so I was always like, I don't have a lot of time to get everything done. So I was very driven to get as much done as possible. I could never imagine myself at being 30 years old. So I figured that I have to do everything by the time I was 30. So I was very, very driven. I was very focused. I wanted to make sure that if I had an opportunity to do something, I'd get down to actually do it, especially on the work front. Because in fact, when I turned 30, I was like, okay, what do I do next? Because I genuinely had felt that I had reached a lot of my goals before the age of 30.
Which is good, to be fair.
It's very good.
How busy you were if you had to get everything done.
Yes, and there are
30.
regrets on that front, because since I jumped into the media world, even from I lost a lot of friends. Why? Because I was always working. So while all my friends were coming together and going for a weekend in Gozo, I either had an event, I either had a theatre production. At the time I worked at animation in a hotel. No regrets whatsoever on that front, because I got the opportunity to grow and learn a lot. But I did push aside my social life, my personal life, and essentially my friends became the people I worked with.
Exactly.
Not people outside of work. So
more colleagues rather than friends.
Yeah, so looking back at me being 16, I think that is one of the things that I would tell myself. Listen, you've got more time than you think. Take your time. Yes, make the most of situations. If you have an opportunity to work with some brilliant people, and I've been very lucky because I've had those opportunities over and over again. Make the most of them, but at the same time, you know what? It's okay to have a break. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to enjoy yourself.
So you're saying you were very driven. You always had something to do. There was always a goal, kind of.
Yes.
Back then, what did success look like to you? Was it just, I need to get this stuff done before I was 30, or was there a specific...
I think when you're in the media world, success, it's a bit like social media. Success is how many likes you get on a post. So sometimes I felt that success was making myself to be recognizable, to be in certain slots on TV and on radio, to have certain roles, to have certain to have certain achievements done. Nowadays, success to me has a very different definition. To me, nowadays, success is being happy. So if I'm doing something that earns me a lot of money but is making me miserable, that's not success. I'd rather have less money in my pocket. I'd rather have less success on the business front, but then go to bed at night knowing I'm happy, knowing I'm surrounded by people that I genuinely care for, that genuinely care for me. That to me is success. And bringing all of that together, figuring out how you have the right dose of business, the right dose of personal relationships, and the right dose of happiness all together, to me that is success.
At least from what I haven't been working for very long, of course, but from other jobs, it's hard finding a balance sometimes between work and friends and these kinds of things.
And I am very guilty that so one of my advantages is that I bring a lot of passion to the table. That's also one of my disadvantages as well, because then when something goes wrong, or maybe something doesn't go completely to plan, then to me it becomes personal. So that is a bit of a genuine struggle sometimes. But then again, you learn how to live with it. You learn how to stick to your principles. You learn how to stand up for things that you feel you need to be speaking out about. And you also learn when maybe it's the right time to say, you know what, time to move on, time to walk away from the situation and whatnot.
I think that's something that you're not very prepared for when you're 16.
I don't think anyone is prepared. I don't think I'm prepared for it at 40 years old, 42, whatever I am. Because it's not easy, especially when you leave it all on the table, when you make your job, your career something that's not just a career, not just a job, but you make it more personal. Then it means a lot more to it.
Of course, and you're more willing to work on it as well.
Yeah. So that's always been a bit of a challenge. But on the other hand, no regrets. I've always said I don't want to be one of the people that says, what if I did that? I always want to do that. So when I was younger, Valentino Rossi was the big guy in sports. You know, he was winning everything, and at one point in his career, Valentino Rossi left this particular team, which was the most successful team. He was like winning everything, and switched to a different motorbike brand. He switched to Yamaha. And everyone was like, this guy is absolutely crazy, because he had it all, he was winning, it was easy, and suddenly he set himself up for an uphill struggle. And he had issued a book about it at the time. And the whole theme of the book was that, what if I never tried it? I would have kept wondering, what if I switched to that team? So I did it. He took the plunge, he dove right, he jumped right into the deep end and figured out a way of making it work. And sometimes that's what
what you
then
have
makes
to
the
do.
taste of success that little bit sweeter.
I mean, now that you mentioned sports, you could also apply that. For example, Lewis Hamilton, the same thing happened to him. He thought he was gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Ferrari fan, so
Even
so
me,
I'm hoping
even
there's
me.
a nicer ending to that story. But it's all about that. It's all about being driven, and wanting to achieve much more, and wanting to satisfy that.
And it's all about perspective at the end
Yes.
of the day. Like something, if you go for something, you have that. We don't want to think about the what if. You dive into something and it wasn't the outcome that you wanted. At the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. You tried something and it just didn't work out.
You
for you.
adapt. I think understanding at which point you need to pivot is also key. So nothing will go to plan every single time,
That would
but
be nice.
pivoting and understanding why you're pivoting, and doing it, and having the courage to do it is key. I don't think a lot of people have enough balls to take certain decisions. And I think that's something that I will always commend. If you want to take a risk, take it by all means. Know what risk you're taking, because the reward is definitely there.
If there's, is there anything at the age of 16 that you wish you understood, and now maybe it's a bit clearer, or now you actually understand?
Two things, I think. First of all, again, I was very lucky. I was very lucky to be working with very talented people along the way. When I was 16 and even after that, I was very lucky to be working with talented individuals. I mean, very, very good companies. I've been put in situations that I wouldn't have been dreaming that I would be in those situations when I was 16 years old. But the one thing I would have told myself is, listen, there are going to be great moments, there are going to be great opportunities. Make sure you make the most out of it. Because sometimes, because I was too focused maybe on the job, I didn't enjoy the moment as much as I should. So for example, one clear case is, everyone picks on me because I always bring up the fact that I lived in London for a while. But the truth is, deep down, for me, it was a major achievement. I never thought I would be living in London, helping a Maltese company, but working on visual effects for a production for Sky and NBC when I did.
Wow.
So it was quite a big achievement to do that. And I spent, I don't know, I think 6-7 months in London managing this project, which I like to think I did very well. But what I did not do in London was enjoy London. So I was in London, but I was very busy working. Now, those who know me know that I love theatre, I love shows, I love performances and everything. In those 7 months in London, I did not go and watch a single show. I just went to the cinema once, I think. Rest of the time I was working, going back home, sleeping, getting up in the middle of the night to have a meeting with the Americans because they were on a different time zone, having a meeting with them, going back to sleep, getting up, going to work, doing what I have to do. And so it was this routine. I did not step out of that routine, maybe even on weekends, and enjoy it and enjoy London. And nowadays I go to London, I still have this love-hate relationship with London. I love it because I love it, but I know the energy that it drains out of you. So that's where the love-hate relationship. And now I go to London for 4 days and I try and watch 3 shows in 4 days.
Wow.
You know, because I understand how much more there is to give. I wish I had I wish I had the opportunity, or I pushed myself back then to say, you know what, it's fine. You're working, you're putting in your hours, you're putting in your days, you're working very, very hard. But it's okay to go and watch a show. It's okay to go and do this. It's okay to go and do that. And I think the work-life balance back then is something that could have been improved upon.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. So that's one of them. The other thing that I would tell my 16-year-old self is, you're going to be put in situations where you're going to be working with some very, very talented people. it's okay to want to be different, but also try and absorb the knowledge from those experienced people. And again, and this is something that I've learned to appreciate when I got older and I found myself needing to mentor the younger generation, where sometimes I'm like, hello, I'm talking to you, I'm trying to tell you something that's going to help. Can you please listen to me? Because I did find people who were too focused on wanting to do different. And I saw myself, my 16-year-old self in them, but they weren't necessarily listening to the advice. I'm not saying do what the older people are doing, but
just have a
understand where
balance.
they're coming from. And then it's fine, then give it your twist. You know, it's a bit like if you're cooking, before you try and come up with a really clever, I don't know, pasta dish. Learn to cook pasta, learn the basics. Then mess it all up, then get all creative with it. But the first thing you need to do is how to make a good plate of pasta.
You need to know
Then
the
try
basics.
and add ingredients or take things away. Then try and think outside the box. But first, define the box and know that box really well.
Earlier, you were mentioning just now how you said that you tell yourself to take more not advantage out of the opportunities, but as you said, you were living in London and you barely even saw London.
Exactly.
Do you have any tips maybe for young people currently that are in between wanting to seize the day and trying to prove themselves in the working world and trying to establish their career, while also trying to enjoy life, because at the end of the day they're still in their youth and now is the time to do it?
No, I think, look, first of all, especially when it comes to career, set yourself your goals. So even if you're going for a job interview, some people go into a job saying, I know this is going to be a 2-year gig. It's fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but be honest with yourself and with the people around you. That's fine. It's okay if you're treating something like a 2-year gig, but at that point, treat it like a 2-year gig and make sure that in those 2 years you achieve what's meant to be achieved, both for the company and for your sake. Or else you can say, I'm going to play the long game. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to enjoy this because I want to be still in this company in 10 years' time. That's a different approach. I don't think people should, if you're given an opportunity to seize it, I don't think people should hold themselves back. I think they should jump right in. You never know whether that opportunity will come around again. You never know whether that opportunity will still be around tomorrow. So definitely, if you have an opportunity to go and do something, think it through. And my advice is always probably going to be, if it's a 50-50, take the risk. That's always because of the what if that I spoke about earlier. On this thing, one of the things I keep telling younger people, even people who are nowadays closer to my age and whatnot, is you need to understand how as well to be independent, because that is one of the things that makes us really grow up, and that means living abroad. That means experiencing living abroad. I love Malta. I love the fact that we're small. I love the fact that we're so tiny. We know each other and whatnot. But we also need to get out of this box and understand that there's a very, very big world and there's a lot of opportunities out there. So that's why I will go back to London, to my London story. Had I not been in London, I would have a very different perspective on how to do business, how to behave myself, how to be a leader, how to behave towards leaders, how the whole bigger picture
You're
exists.
totally alone there, so you have to learn everything.
You're alone, you learn survival, you learn how to be independent, you learn a lot of things. It's different cultures, you get to be more tolerant towards things. You understand that suddenly this little bubble that we live in Malta is great, but at the same time there's a whole different world out there, and there's so much that we can unfortunately not absorb by staying here. So even if you have an opportunity to just go and spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months abroad, just go for it, because you'll come back having learned a lot. That's why I'm very keen on student exchanges, on Erasmus, on working opportunities. I know some companies do secondments as well abroad. Those are all brilliant opportunities that, by the way, did not necessarily exist when I was younger. So nowadays I realize how many more opportunities there are to really do something special.
You're encouraging me because Erasmus is always something my mother tells me
Do
to
it.
do.
Do it.
And it's something that scares me so much.
No, it's fine. Listen, I turned I used the washing machine by myself when I was in London.
To be fair, those kinds of things I know how to do them, but...
So there are things that, even as basic as they are, I had never used the washing machine up until I was 30,
Wow.
which is when I was in London. And I came back after 7 months living in London, and I was telling my mum, I was like, I did this, I was using the washing machine and doing this and that. And I realized that I wasn't using the right products to clean my clothes. Apparently I was just using fabric conditioner. So they smelled great, but I wasn't necessarily cleaning them. But again, had I not been in London, I would have not experienced certain things. I would have not experienced independence. I would have not been as responsible as maybe I am today. Why? Because I didn't have that comfort level, that safety net, that, listen, if I wake up late, maybe one of my parents will drive me to work. Or if I oversleep, my mom will come and wake me up if I don't listen to the alarm. Nope. That safety net doesn't exist.
Exactly.
You grow up very, very quickly.
I can imagine. My mother was one of those mothers that if you don't wake up,
so Erasmus, do it.
If you were looking for a sign to do Erasmus, this is it. It's a sign for me as well.
Like a tape, pause, go apply, and come back and watch the rest of this.
Mela, we're gonna go for a short break.
Perfect. You're gonna fill up your Erasmus application.
Exactly. I'm gonna fill up my Erasmus application apparently, and we'll be back. I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Malta Food Agency and EUPA's Solidarity Corps scheme. I would like to thank them for helping us and for believing in our mission as alumni. Mela, and we're back. We can start with our game. Mela, we're going to play a little game before we continue. So basically the way that this is going to play out is I'm going to give you different situations, different hypothetical situations, and you will rate these situations as cringe, character building, or both.
Okay.
And also feel free to give any anecdotes for the situations. Mela, let's start. Bombing a presentation in front of people you respect.
I think nowadays, I would say it's character building. Mm-hmm. But it's a big lesson.
I think it depends on the...
So it depends on the situation, depends on everything, it depends on the consequences as well. But those are lessons you need to learn from. Mm-hmm. And it's more about understanding what went wrong there and how you can... It happened recently to me. I didn't bomb a presentation, but we were on a call with an investor, and because I got caught up before the meeting doing other things, I didn't check that I could screen share and everything. Mm-hmm. And when we jumped onto the call, and my computer never lets me down. And usually I'm the kind of person where if I'm giving a presentation, I go in, I check all the slides, I check sound, I check everything. I didn't do it. I couldn't screen share, and I spent essentially all the call trying to figure this out, which was one, embarrassing, made me look unprepared, but it's all about then how you react to it. So luckily, because we're a good team and whatnot, someone else jumped in and could screen share from their end, and the following morning the first thing I did was I went to work early to figure out what the technical issues were and made sure that I fixed them and made sure I apologized to the people I needed to apologize to and made sure it doesn't happen again. So it is character building up to a certain extent. I wouldn't call it cringe, not yet. So it's cringe, character building, and?
Both.
So let's character building.
Issa, the next one. Saying yes to something you are not ready for.
Definitely character building.
I agree with that.
I think you can only grow by doing something, by getting yourself out of your comfort zone. I've done it over and over again, and I hope to keep doing it. And the second I find myself being comfortable, that's where the little red flags start coming out and saying, you're getting comfortable. Because if your style is to be the person that's pushing, the second you stop pushing, then you've lost your identity.
I agree with that. Most of the things I said yes to this year were things I had no idea, including the podcast, joining the alumni, and also doing the JA company program.
Keep doing more of that.
All yes with no, okay, we'll figure it out while I while I get there.
Well, it's all about being responsible. It's if you're taking a step that if you're going into an unknown world, there are still responsible and irresponsible ways of doing it.
Exactly.
So yes, you take risks. At the same time, you take risks in a clever way, and also having maybe at the back of your mind said, if I do this and this happens, so you've also worked out a bit of scenarios of how to react.
A risk assessment. Being the youngest person in the room.
Again, character building. I think over the years I've met some very, very young people who act like they're much older, and some older people who act like they're much younger. I think I'd rather be the youngest person in a room and somehow fit in with people who are older than I am than being in a room where I'm maybe with younger people and find myself behaving like they are. Not that I don't like to come across as young. I mean, I try to act like I'm younger, but on the business front especially, I think being in a room with older people is definitely a big plus.
Next one. Okay, I've done this before, so I hope it's not cringe. Sending a follow-up email that feels awkward.
I don't think it's cringe. It's how you word it.
I think it from your end it feels cringe.
If to you
feels awkward.
Clearly, if you feel that you need to follow up, clearly to you this thing is more important than it is to the other person. Doesn't mean that it's not important. It means that it's more important. So especially if you're expecting something out of that person, there's nothing wrong with following up. So I don't mind people who follow up in a respectful way, in a clever way. There are ways and ways of doing it. I think doing it right is definitely not cringe, definitely not both. So at that point, it's character building.
So finally, having to reintroduce yourself to someone who forgot you.
Yes, I'm horrible at. I'm horrible at those conversations. I tend to forget people as well myself, and that can get very cringy very quickly. I'm already forgetful. I'm a twin, so sometimes people speak to me thinking I'm my twin brother. So I'm always playing that game, wondering whether they know me or my brother. And then when I figure out they know me, I need to figure out where I know them. So that can go very cringe very quickly.
And I think the more people you know, the worse it works in your
No,
favor.
I'm horrible at faces. I'm horrible at names especially. And when I spend a lot of time going to events and networking with people, meeting those people in different environments, then suddenly you start wondering, okay, where do I know that person? How do I know that person? For me, it gets very... I mean, I would love it if everyone walked around with name tags.
With name tags.
I would absolutely love it. I would not hate it. Those my name is. They're back in fashion again. I would love it. Or people have a QR code and you tap on it and it gives you...
Very Black Mirror.
That would be a good product, actually. You point your phone at someone and tells you know this person from this and that, like...
It would be personalized to everyone.
Exactly, no, personalized assistant.
That would make sense and would help a lot of people. My stepfather forgets everyone. We meet someone, then he turns to my mom. Where do I know that guy from?
No, happens all the time. I think it's a male problem.
Insomma, that happens to me as well, but since you're kind of...
So it's a male and a Christina problem.
Esatto. My mom remembers everyone, literally everyone, even someone that she's met like 50 years ago where she didn't even exist, she'll remember them.
It is a genuine skill. It is a genuine skill to
and even like remembering things about them, or remembering someone's name, okay, I know them from there, is one thing, but actually like...
The details.
Exactly, managing to keep up a detailed conversation with them, that blows my mind. But Mela, let's move on to another conversation point. Let's talk about skills that no one can teach you early enough.
Okay.
What do you think that is a skill that when you were younger you wish you learned or maybe invested more time in it?
I think I'm going to go on the emotion side of things. I think we're not taught enough how to deal with our emotions. So for us, we link emotions to personal relationships. I think a lot of emotion, a lot of feelings, a lot of these characteristics also come in on the place of work in a professional environment, and I think we're not necessarily taught with how to deal with awkward conversations, how to deal with situations where maybe we're not being treated the way we should. So sometimes what happens then is that in a professional environment, someone blows up, someone loses it, and then when there's that tantrum, then we deal with the situation. But we're not taught how to avoid getting to that point.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, most of us learn it the hard way. Learn by being pushed maybe a bit too far, by losing it, and then realizing that maybe next time I should not have ignored all those red flags along the way.
Do you feel like not knowing, I mean, even throughout, let's talk about things like, for example, secondary school and these kinds of things. You're also not taught from that age, how to ask for help, that it's,
Yes.
in certain scenarios it's okay to say no.
So I'm a big advocate for mental health and whatnot. I still think there's a lot more a lot is being done, I have to be honest, but I think a lot more can be done from a young age where these life skills are taught. I don't think we're teaching them at enough of a young age. I think especially with guys, it's worse than girls, to be honest,
sure.
because we're told we need to suppress our feelings and whatnot, and suddenly someone being a bit touchy, I have to be careful how to say it, but someone having a certain aspect or having a certain softness to him on the place of work can be perceived as a sign of weakness. I don't think there's anything wrong with being in touch with your emotions and with being a soft person, with being genuine, by the way, because that's what makes us real. I think no one can prepare you for that. Unfortunately, just like when you have kids and you say at some point someone's going to break his or her heart, and there's nothing I can do to prevent that. Unfortunately, they have to go through a heartbreak to know what it's like. I'm not a parent myself, but I see parents say that. I think in work, in the business environment, it's just the same. I think there are things where unfortunately you have to go through them to learn your lesson. And it's a pity, because it would be great if people's hearts were never broken. It would be great if that would be the ideal world, no?
But then no one would, with these kinds of things, I feel like then no one would appreciate meanings of things anymore.
No, definitely.
So
definitely, then you wouldn't appreciate when you have something good going for you. Then you wouldn't appreciate it because it becomes the norm. But on the other hand, yeah, dealing with these awkward situations, it's not fun either. So
I feel like you definitely do have to go through them to be able to, like, okay, that just happened, that was a train wreck, next time maybe I can do this.
Exactly.
I do think that in school scenarios, for example, it could be something that they help with, just so that when you do get to that point, it's not that scary and as unknown.
No, I think we can still be doing a lot more in schools with these life skills, with these soft skills. There's much more than we can do. Sometimes I think I would have been better off if I was taught less physics and more of these skills.
I agree.
In secondary school. I'm not saying physics is not important, by all means. I mean, some of the things that fascinate me nowadays are based on physics principles, which I did not understand when I was doing my O-levels. But on the other hand, yes, I think some of those skills, some of those human skills, some of those people skills need to be given priority.
Is there a particular skill that when you were younger you feel like it could have changed the trajectory of your path if you had learned them earlier?
So I think, for example, growing up, the definition of something like bullying changed a lot. There's different type of bullying. Just because no one ever came up to me and took my lunch, and just because I haven't been given a wedgie in the past 10 years, doesn't mean that I haven't been bullied in the past 10 years. And I think those are things that tend to be ignored. I think those are situations where, this is why I would hate working in HR. I would probably do anything but work in HR, because dealing with these situations, unfortunately, where you need to deal with them head first is where I tend to struggle a bit. So, and I think there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of bullies in this world, both on the place of work, both online and everywhere. And I think sometimes we let these guys or these individuals control a bit more than they should, just because they tend to be a bit more aggressive or a bit more loud.
As someone who has someone in the family that knows about HR, sometimes it's not even about, the person isn't even conscious about the fact that they are bullying you. Some people are brought up a certain way that, if you do something wrong, for example, I'm going to shout at you. That's what happens when you do something wrong. So I think these things, especially like when you end up in the workplace, it's a bunch of grown-ups that have been parented in a totally different way, and all of a sudden they have to work together.
So one of the things that usually comes across is a person tells you, I'm very loud because I'm a perfectionist, I'm a passionate. No, you're not passionate, you're an idiot. You're a bully. So there are ways of being passionate about what you do. Am I hard-headed? Myself, Frank, as a person, totally. Do I have an ego? Yes. But do I work to control my ego? Do I work to control my passion? Yes. And there is a fine line when that passion becomes bullying. And that's a fine line that a lot of people don't understand, don't know. And they say, yes, I like push my way through. I'm like hard because I'm passionate because I'm a perfectionist. No, you're not. You're more than that. Unfortunately, you're a bully.
Exactly.
And you need to be able to control those emotions, because otherwise making other people's lives hard does not make you passionate.
Exactly.
Makes you a bully.
Exactly. Do you feel that, from what school was back in your day to my day, which was 5 years ago, to what school is now?
No, I think it keeps getting harder. I think it keeps getting harder for people working in education, because the world is constantly changing. And unfortunately, the system is not adapting as well to the world as we need it to be. So AI is the clear case. Suddenly AI is in the room. Up until 2 years ago, AI was this big unknown, maybe a few people flirted with it and whatnot. Look at how far it's advancing, and now educators, companies, everyone is playing catch up, trying to adapt to AI, which, by the way, tomorrow is going to have improved yet again, is going to have adapted yet again. So by the time we adapt to what AI is today, we're going to be late anyway, because this thing has kept evolving. And education is a bit like that. We're still using old ways of teaching. Do they need to be all thrown out of the window? No. But at the same time, let's understand that nowadays social media is a thing, whether we like it or not. The digital world is what it is. And we're not adapting fast enough, unfortunately. I don't blame anyone. The problem is the world is adapting at a much faster rate. But at the same time, we're not adapting fast enough. So I come from a world where social media did not exist. I opened up my Instagram, I think, when I was in my 20s.
Oh, so?
Probably late 20s. Because that's when Instagram came about. So I got used to a world where me working in media did not need social media. I started doing social media because I had to. Because everyone's suddenly on social media, and I'm like, okay, I have to have a profile. Which is where my stupid nickname came about, and whatnot.
And where did that come from, out of curiosity?
That's an old school nickname, because I needed a username. I didn't think Instagram would be that big. So I just put in an old school nickname as my user handle, never thinking that this thing would become as big as it is, Instagram. Nowadays, you have people who are on social media who are probably more vocal, more powerful, who have access to more people than someone who is on normal media, on what we call traditional media. In the past, you were either a TV presenter, a radio presenter, or you were not.
Exactly.
That's it. Nowadays, people are recognizable from social media without having ever been on TV and radio.
That's it.
And those people are also not necessarily going through the processes, through the way of growing in the way I had. When I started TV doing a particular type of program. Probably not a lot of people saw it, and eventually, you start going up a ladder. By the time I was in social media, where everything is so public, I was already used to the public life, so I already knew, kind of instinctively, naturally, what to post, what not to post,
Exactly.
what to highlight, what not to highlight. Unfortunately, people who just at a very young age, open up an Instagram account and suddenly they're public and they post a video and probably the video that will go viral is the embarrassing one, then they're not used to dealing with that with that side of things, which is why certain people go viral and suddenly disappear from social media.
Exactly.
And it's happened time and time again.
I feel like overnight success, and when people go viral overnight,
because then you're not capable of knowing how to cope with it.
Exactly.
How to follow it up, by the way, because suddenly the pressure is, if you've gone viral with this video, your next video needs to do just as well or even better. How do you do that?
And it's so easy to be forgotten online, as in like if your next video doesn't live up to the hype of the first one, which probably it won't, everyone will just forget you.
I changed a lot. I was the kind of person that used to post about everything because I felt I needed to tell people everything I'm doing. Now sometimes a week passes and I'm like, I haven't even posted a story. Not a post, a story. And it's fine. Does it mean that I'm not living? Does it mean that I'm not enjoying myself? Does it mean that I'm not doing cool things, by the way? I'm doing those every single day just because I'm not posting.
I feel like that's very also generational as well, because for example my mom, she will not post something on Instagram for a month, and me maybe 2 years ago I say, Ma, you can't because you need to keep up with it and whatever, and then I just kind of realized I've had Instagram since I was 12, so throughout all of my teenage years and growing up, those very developmental years, I've always had social media with me. And without wanting to kind of, you see other people's lives, obviously most people will put the highlights of their life and not the
That's
the
the
low
difference in
parts.
generations. So again, for example, I had my first phone, not smartphone, phone, when I was 16 going on 17. because before then, phones did not exist in a mobile form. You know, I had telecards for my first year of junior college. I actually had a pager in my first year of junior college. And I was the big show off. Because I had a pager. I used to get this thing used to bleep, and I used to get a number, and I used to go and call it. I was the coolest guy in the world because I did that. You know, sometimes I wonder whether we're better off with being less accessible.
I personally, I love the 90s and everything like that. So me personally, I would love to have grown up back in that day rather than now, because I feel like
for example,
it just gets worse.
I remembered my first smartphone, and then it was very cool that I could check my emails on my phone. Nowadays, I wonder if I want to be checking my emails on my phone.
I feel like now that there is such a difficult line between even work-life balance. For example, you're on your phone, mux I check, we all just go and check them really quickly. But then subconsciously you're still going to think about it.
Yes.
Before, my laptop is at work, there is absolutely no way of getting to it. So I don't know, I was brought up quite, although I think my first phone I was 11 and obviously it was a smartphone. Although I was given access to the internet and to phones and stuff on a young age, at a young age, I still feel like compared to other people my age, I was brought up relatively retro. And from the pieces I've seen of life 30 years ago, 40 years ago, I prefer it then rather than it is now, as someone who's lived in it now.
Look, this is going to make me sound really old. But when phones were introduced, when mobile phones were introduced in Malta, there were two companies. And you could only message people who had a SIM card which belongs to your carrier. So if you were on Go, you could only message people on Go. And back then it was Vodafone. So if you had Vodafone, you could only message people on Vodafone. So if you wanted to message your friend and your friend had a different service provider, you couldn't message them. It was that basic. Is it great? No. It's horrible. But at the same time, I found myself, if I need to speak to my friend who was on a different carrier, I would have to physically speak to him.
Exactly.
I would have to call him, not from my phone. I think I couldn't even call back then from between the. So it was mad when you think about it, but it made us want to speak to each other.
Exactly.
I used to send random SMSs to people in my group who were not my favorite people in the group, but they had the same carrier. So I was like, Memx tagħmel, I have to speak to you. You're the only other person I can have a conversation with. But on the other hand, nowadays, I don't even need to do that. Nowadays, even if I'm at 10 o'clock at night and I think of something, I WhatsApp someone, and no one's really thinking, I'm messaging this person at 10 o'clock at night, is that okay? Nowadays, you just go for it. You're
exactly.
like, for guys, don't check the phone. No.
That's what.
No, like...
You can't, it gets awkward really quickly. You second guess what you're doing.
So I wonder sometimes if we've gone a bit too far.
I think we have. Again, as someone who is supposed to be benefiting and in the prime.
And I love technology, but
there is such thing as a bit too much sometimes, which is...
earlier this year I changed job and I traveled for the first time without a laptop.
Illallah.
I was like, I can't travel without my laptop.
You get so used to having to be connected.
For 10 days. By the way, I was still checking my emails because I could do it on the phone. I was still doing the basics, but there were plenty of times where my phone was unreachable, or it just switched off, or just in airplane mode, or I'd go somewhere I don't have reception and I'm not freaking out. I'm like, okay, no reception here.
That's
great. It's...
You put a teenager in that situation, they'll go into a psychosis if there isn't service. Mela, to wrap up, it has been a lovely conversation.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Let's leave whoever is watching with maybe two questions which you can answer. What would be one thing that you think every 16-year-old should start doing?
I think it's about... I think everyone should be more positive. I think everyone should we live in a world which unfortunately has its good things and its bad things. I think we need to stop focusing on the bad stuff and do more of the good stuff. Mm-hmm. And by changing that mindset and by manifesting good things, I think in turn good things will happen. So doom scrolling is a cool thing. Mm-hmm. People feel cool doom scrolling. Let's stop doom scrolling. Let's be more positive. Let's enjoy life more. Let's make the most of those situations. Be more positive because, by the way, you as cheesy as it sounds, you only get one shot at life. Mm-hmm. So you can choose to look back and remember the times where you were angry at a situation, or you can look back at the times and really enjoy the positive moments. Mm-hmm. So seize the moment. If you're in a positive situation, snap a photo, because there will be a time when you go back on your camera roll to see what you've done and you realize how many good things you've done. Mm-hmm. and stop the doom scrolling. And
what would be one thing we change the perspective a bit that you'd believe someone young should just completely ignore?
Negative energy. Mm-hmm. And we spoke about bullying earlier, we spoke about the bad influences. I think bullies stop being bullies when
you stop caring about
when you stop giving them the attention. I think a lot of people are out there with a big thirst for attention, and if they're the people that don't deserve that attention, don't give it to them.
Exactly.
Don't leave them thirsty. At some point they will just move on. So mm-hmm. So I think as I said, I think there's a lot of positives in the world. You can always look at the glass half full or half empty. I choose to always keep looking at it as half full, mm-hmm. and when I realize that I'm looking at it as half empty, it means something needs to change.
Exactly.
And that's when I change. And I think that's what we always need to do. Ignore the negativity as much as possible. It's always going to be there. There are always going to be negative situations, but let's think about the positives and then use those positives to fight the negatives.
It's some very beautiful advice, no matter how old you are, to be fair.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Frank. It was a lovely conversation.
Really enjoyed it.
For everyone that's still watching, thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next episode.